Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Today is the 28th of October, year of our Lord 2024. Welcome to yet another edition of The Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Motown Noah. Got a big show for you guys today. I'm excited to get into everything, but before we, really get to the real meat and potatoes, I got something to tell you up top that I'm really excited about. I voted today, voted early for the first time in my life, and the only reason that I'm bringing this up is to say, well, first of all, for our American-based listeners, with the election coming up, the day that this releases, the election is in 8 days? Make sure that you're registered. Well, actually, are you even still able to register? Go vote. All right? If you're over the age of 18, it is your civic duty to get out and participate in these elections, or don't. Nah, fuck that. Go vote. Don't be that guy. Go vote if you're registered. I gotta tell you, I love voting so much. It's the feeling of, because it's one thing when we spend months, like years, talking about elections, and you do the cycle stuff, and you watch all these political attack ads, which I do have a new commentary on that Maddie and I have been talking about. We'll get to that in just a second. But it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different feeling for me when I actually sit down and I'm looking at the ballot and I see all of the, mainly the presidential nominees. You see them on a piece of paper and you're like, whoa, I have an opportunity here to actually vote for the president of the United States. I don't know what it is, man. I love that feeling of participation. And maybe that's all that it is, actually, is because I love being a part of something. And I feel in that moment that what I'm doing matters and what I'm doing has legitimate consequence, because it does at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I had fun. It's weird to say that I had fun filling out a fucking ballot, because all you're doing is filling in bubbles. It's treating it like it was a damn coloring book. Stay inside the lines, Nick. Stay inside the lines. Stay inside the lines, bro. And then one of them, I accidentally went outside the lines with my pen, but it's only a little bit, so I should still be good. It was on the margins. I think I should be fine. I love it. The red, white, and blue that courses through my veins. I feel like as soon as I'm done filling out my ballot, a bald eagle should be screeching or something. I didn't get a sticker though. That's the thing that stinks, is I didn't get the I voted sticker. So the only reason that I am able to convey that I did actually vote is by telling you word of mouth. Otherwise, I would have just been wearing the sticker and I wouldn't have even addressed it at all, because I have an I voted sticker. I think in 2020 when I voted, I probably wore that sticker for 5 days, maybe 6 days. It might have been 2 weeks, honestly, because everywhere that I went, I wanted people to know, yeah, I participated. I did actually participate in this election. Maybe you didn't. Walking around at Meijer, wherever I was, going to VG's, going to McDougal's, which is McDonald's, wherever it was. I just wanted people to know that I did actually vote in this election. And again, I did in 2024, and I just love it. I love it so much. I love participating in democracy. It's so fun. I love it. Hey, I'm taping this. No. I need to get this take off. So, okay, we've talked a little bit about the political attack ads. This football season is where I'm seeing them the most personally, which is weird. On YouTube, I haven't really been getting those ads where it's all the shit that you're seeing on TV. I just haven't really been getting them on YouTube. And in the past, that was a big medium that they were covering. But football season, they are certainly covering all the bases and making sure that they get their messages out there, even if their messages are dumb as hell. And this is the take, right? Every single election cycle, each party will pick one or two things, and that's their hot button issue. And they form a buzzword salad, 30-second advertisement featuring that specific thing. Well, conservatives this election cycle have focused on transgender people and sex changes, and immigrants too. Or you combine all three of those things and you have, well, what we're getting right now. And so what has confused Maddie and I, we were having a dialogue about this a week ago. I think she's just right about this. So, okay, one of the commercials that we keep seeing, which is a pro-Trump, anti-Kamala ad, is that there are migrants who are in prison that Kamala wants to give sex changes to for free. So which is it? Because the other ads that you'll see is that liberal borders are Kamala Harris letting in immigrants and then not putting them in jail. But then when there are immigrants in jail, they want sex changes and now it's a problem. Well, they're already in jail. They can't pass the time and you know what I mean? And get a sex change. So what's the problem? They're already in jail, which is what you wanted in the first place. So now we have to take it a step further. It's well, if you're in jail, then you need to stick there. You need to stay there with whatever genitalia you came in with. I don't know. If they want a sex change while they're in jail, they got to do something. Who knows what their sentence is? If they're in there for 5 years, I don't know. They're going to be, I don't know. Might as well just pass the time. Just doesn't really seem like they've got it all mapped out as to what exactly the plan here is. And I think that if let's say that, the election goes a certain way and Kamala wins comfortably, which some people are projecting to happen. I'm just not, man, let's just wait till we get there. It's this, we did this in 2016. People were like, oh, Hillary's going to win the electoral votes by like 150. And then that shit did not happen at all. I'm just curious to see if it doesn't go Republicans' way this election, if that will be part of it. And then, you know what? I might as well just stay on this because I do have like one more thought. So Trump finally went on Rogan. And that kind of felt like a big moment because that has been festering for how many years now that people have been trying to tell him like, hey, you need to get Trump. You need to get Trump. And it never really felt like it was going to be that big of a ask to do that. I mean, how many times have they kind of like bumped fists at UFC events? And like they definitely are like not in the same circles, but you know what I mean? Like they know the same people. It's like, why hasn't this happened before? Like this is a safe space for Donald Trump on the Joe Rogan Experience. Like why hasn't this happened yet? And then it finally did. I got an hour into it and I was like, I just can't watch the rest of this. An hour is honestly, it doesn't make me feel great that I look at I open YouTube and it'll tell me if, oh, you want to pick this video back up? And I can see on the timeline, like how deep into that video I got, into that podcast that I got. Cause it was just like a complete nothing burger. But I do think we've talked about this a lot recently, but I do think it's important that these nominees have been going on these podcasts and having these unscripted long form one-on-one conversations with people, because that's where people do consume their information. What we said like a week or two ago was more people listen to podcasts and consume their information and their news through that vertical than they do through like the 6 o'clock news. You know what I mean? So what I would not like challenge each candidate on, but what's interesting to see that this hasn't happened is that neither of them have really gone on a podcast that isn't just kind of an echo chamber for their respective party. You know what I mean? The closest that we've gotten so far is maybe Trump going on Bussin' with the Boys, like maybe that. The Andrew Schultz podcast, like maybe that, but like, probably not that. You know, and what's crazy is all of these people who have had each respective nominee on their shows have been like, no, yeah, we'd love to have the opposite on. And the one that comes up the most is, because usually the people who have had Kamala on aren't really that open to having Trump on their program. But the people who have had Trump on have been like Theo Vaughn actually is a pretty good example here, right? Where he's like, hey man, like I've talked to people about it. I've reached out. People have reached out to me. Like maybe we can make it happen in the next 8 days. At this point, I would be surprised, but he's pulled off some pretty wild shit with like getting guests. Just in the last month, we talked about it a little bit also in the last episode. He had J.D. Vance on. So he's had the Republican ticket on his show. But they all are pretty apprehensive about having her on, and I just wonder what exactly that's about. And I'm not saying that to sound naive. I'm just kind of like, if you're going to do the thing and then say that you want to do the thing and then like actually do the thing, I don't know. It's kind of like, But that's what I would like to see, is like what would be the funniest left-wing or even like politically centered podcast that Trump could go on. If Cumtown was still a thing, I would say that. If Trump went on Cumtown, that would be pretty funny. I don't know, because I know Pardon My Take got an offer to have Kamala on the show, and they declined it because they have made it a point to just stay out of politics completely, which I think is pretty admirable, because you have an opportunity to interview the vice president of the United States, the current VP of the United States, and a presidential candidate in 2024, and you say no to that. That takes balls, right? Like, but that's good for them for sticking to their guns and knowing what they want the show to be and not straying from that just for the sake of opportunity. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm kind of, my brain is kind of in a pretzel here. So what do you say we just move on? We spent 10 minutes talking about this. Let's move on to something else, right? We are taping this on the heels about an hour ago. Jayden Daniels, quarterback for the Washington Commanders, a guy who 24 hours ago, we weren't even sure if he was going to be playing today, threw a game-winning Hail Mary to knock off the Chicago Bears. What did that end up being, like 60 yards, 50-plus yards? What an absolute nuke that he threw. A guy that, by the way, two things here are true. We had Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on this call. Which one do I want to say first? Well, the bad thing is that if you go back and watch the replay, about 15 seconds before Washington snaps the ball, actually, I'm pretty sure the conversation was still happening as they were snapping the ball. Tony Romo is talking about, if you're Washington in this situation, you probably want to bring in Marcus Mariota because he's healthy. He's got a better arm right now. Jayden Daniels, his ribs are probably such that he was like, we haven't seen him get good velocity on a football. Jim Nantz immediately challenges him on it. He's like, he's thrown 2 deep balls to Terry McLaurin today, and he's looked great in both of them. And Tony's like, he like stuck to his guns. He was like, no. He was like, he's taken a lot of hits since then. Like, I bet he's still in pain. And then they snap the ball, and Jayden Daniels throws the bomb. Got to what? Did it get quite to the goal line within the 5-yard line? Gets tipped, and it's a touchdown. Holy smokes, what a feeling that was. But the other part of this, and this is the good thing, right? We talk about on it. People say it. There are many such cases of people saying that Tony Romo fucked up Jim Nantz's Super Bowl call this last year between the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Did it happen? I don't know. People talk about it, but we've never said it explicitly on this show, but people do say it. I think it was good that in this moment, it was clear that he was just so shocked that he didn't do anything that was outrageous. But also, what if he did? It would be the moment to do it because it is a semi-consequential, semi-unconsequential, what is this, week 8, middle of the season rather, game between these two quarterbacks. Like, there's consequence, because like narrative consequence between the number 1 pick and the number 2 pick between Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels. But this would be the time to be like, oh, Jim, oh my God, Jim, did you see that? Oh my God. What a crazy game that ended up being. It sucks if you're a Commander. It doesn't suck at all if you're a Commanders fan. If they would have lost, all this stuff I'm about to say would have been true. But man, really flag happy game from the officials. Every single time, seemingly, that Washington did something cool, the refs were like, nope, try and do that again, because that one didn't count. That shit did not happen. Facts don't care about your feelings. That was a hold. That was illegal procedure. That was whatever it was. You know what I mean? It felt like Washington just kept getting hoed in that sense. And then there was also this point in the game where Bears fans are complaining that they have the worst coaching staff in the league because the Bears are on the 1-yard line. They have 3rd and goal with a couple minutes left in the game. It's like maybe under 5. And they hand the ball off to like a backup center, to an offensive lineman who's lined up at fullback. They fumble the exchange. It was never a clean handoff. It just wasn't going to happen. Washington recovers the ball on like the 2-yard line. And it's like, oh my God, like this is a Bears fans like, oh, this is why the coaching staff is never going to get us there, blah, blah, blah. First of all, that's a call where if it works, we're talking about how these coaches are geniuses. You know what I mean? And that wasn't even a bad call, because you're sending a refrigerator right up the middle. And the odds are, if that's a clean exchange, he's in, right? That's just a mass thing. Like, he was probably going to be in. But because the execution, the handoff, the exchange from Caleb Williams was poor, because Romo was right. You know what I mean? Like, as if there's anything that I can relate to as somebody who played quarterback as like a 9-year-old until I was like 16 years old. Like, one thing I do know is how to hand off a ball. And I'm not saying that to sound funny. Like, that was the only thing that I was like, I know, like getting that clean exchange and putting it right where it needs to be, right in the breadbasket. I was really, really good at that. And when you're handing it off to a fullback, you kind of just have to sit there and wait for them to take the ball and just like guide it into their belly. You know what I mean? And when Caleb is turning around and going 100 miles an hour backwards, like that's when to a guy who doesn't usually receive those handoffs, it kind of creates a conundrum, right? And we saw what happened. They fumbled the ball. And so, okay, Bears fans were mad about that. Bears fans did have a right to be mad when there's like a minute left in the game and it's 3rd and 5 inside the red zone, and the Bears call like a quarterback draw with Caleb. What the hell was that? And they ended up converting on the 4th down, and so it was fine, and the Bears ended up scoring a touchdown, and then dog, I just can't. They even get the 2-point conversion. There's nothing I love more than that little shovel pass that they did on the 2-point conversion. It was something that was like a D'Antonio special at Michigan State for a few years. When there was a big play, there was a short yardage situation where we absolutely needed it most. Doing those like little RPO, like shovel passes right up the middle, it worked every single time. It's one of my favorite plays in football because it always works in those short yardage situations. And credit to them because they got the 2-point conversion. But Jayden Daniels, man, what a guy, like a capital G guy that he's become. I don't know. I mean, he'll get another offensive rookie of the week out of that one. So good for the Commanders. Part of me I'm not like rooting for the Bears in this game, but there's the part of me that's like, well, the NFC North continuing to win games narratively is really, really fun. But yeah, definitely wanted the Commanders to. Also, from like a pardon my take, we talked about pardon my take already, but from a PMT perspective, that's definitely going to generate some really, really good content. So what else did I see in the NFL this week? Oh, really burying the lead. How about the fact that the fucking Lions disemboweled the Tennessee Titans, gave us a 50 burger? How about that? There's like nothing really even to say other than, not to get like sentimental and lame about this, but I really am trying my hardest to enjoy every single one of these games that we can get, because it's one thing when you go into Jerry World. This is something that, fuck, dude, I'm so glad I'm finally remembering to bring this up, because when this happened a couple of weeks ago, I just keep I don't know how I didn't bring it up already. I keep forgetting to mention this, that the Lions went into Jerry World on Jerry Jones's birthday and won by fucking 100 points and sent the Cowboys into purgatory, sent them into the depths of hell. I wanted 50 from that game so bad. That was like the one thing that I didn't get out of that game, was the Lions putting 50 on the board. And so you have Tennessee coming to town. First quarter of this game, I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is this? No Tucker Carlson shit. I'm not going to do it. But, like, what is this? Why is Mason Rudolph putting Nowatzki on skates? We already had Baker Mayfield put, like, Malcolm Rodriguez on skates earlier this year. What is it about these quarterbacks that we just keep getting? You know what I mean? God forbid we ever have to play Lamar Jackson. God forbid we have to play them in, like, the Super Bowl, because I don't know what's going to happen, because if we can't even stop Mason Rudolph, you know what I mean? So it's like, what, 14-14 in that first quarter, and I'm like, we're fine. Like, it's going to be fine because the offense is definitely clicking. The Lions keep getting in these short field situations, whether it's through virtue of turnovers or special teams, which was the big winner today. You had Khalil Dorsey with a massive kickoff return. You had Khalif Raymond, highest paid punt returner in the NFL, I believe, still, with a 90-yard punt return touchdown. Had another one that almost went back, but he took it for like 40 some odd yards. Did get called back with a hold, but like at that point the game was out of reach. It didn't matter. But we keep getting in these situations where we have the ball like already in the red zone. We're starting the possession like in the red zone. And so when you look at the box score, you're like, okay, so the Lions won 52-14. They won by damn near 40 points. Jared Goff had 85. Did he get hurt? He only threw for 85 yards? No, we just kept getting in situations where like Jared didn't have to do anything. Or Jahmyr Gibbs is busting off like a 70-yard touchdown run. You know what I mean? Like we just like almost like didn't even. Or David Montgomery is throwing a touchdown pass. That's the craziest thing about this game. So the Lions scored, what was it, like 7 touchdowns at the end? Yeah, it was about 7 touchdowns. So we had 2 from our running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery got one. We had 2 receivers with a touchdown, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Khalif Raymond, and we had 2 tight ends with a touchdown. We had Brock Wright and we had Sam Laporta. Khalif Raymond became the first player in NFL history to have a punt return touchdown and a receiving touchdown in the same game. How the hell is that true? How is that even a little bit true? Deshaun Jackson never did that. I know Devin Hester like didn't always play on offense. I know he started his career when he was returning kicks and punts, like he was a corner. But I do remember that at some point the Bears did flip him over to the. You tell me that never happened in the same. That never happened in the same game? How is he the first player? I mean, I'll take it. Like, that's cool. The Lions score the most points in a first half that they have since 1970. Yeah, even if it was the Titans and they're like a fake team, they're not even real this year. We got an email from a guy at like 4 o'clock in the morning. From Sunday morning, as of this recording, it was today, and he just sent an email. He was like, "Hey, I'm a Titans fan. Congrats on the win." I was like, "That's valid. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for this." Yeah, what I was saying at the beginning, like I'm just trying to savor these games, because we're not that far removed from the Lions being on the opposite ends of these ones. You know what I mean? And who knows when it's going to be our turn to get off the merry-go-round, to get off the Ferris wheel. You never know when this shit can end. And the fact that I'm watching a Lions team beat a team so bad that I'm like, should I take a nap? Like, are we approaching dad nap hours? You know what I mean? That Sunday afternoon nap? Like, is that kind of where we are right now? But then I'm like, no, shit, dude, I can't do that because I want to watch Hendon Hooker. And I know at some point he's actually going to get in this game. And then he did. And yeah, sure, like nothing happened and it didn't technically matter. But it was just still cool to see him. I love watching him play. I love watching like Craig Reynolds play. So that was cool. What else happened in the NFL this week? The Honolulu flu is a real thing. Teams who have played the Lions this season are 0-5. the following week. If you play the Lions, you will lose the following week. I believe that the Titans may break that because they're playing the Patriots next week. Although, what the hell is going on with that? What's going on with the Patriots beating the Jets? Listen, if the Jets weren't already kind of just in the ground, which they were, I mean, if you're losing to... We started the Jets defense in fantasy this week because I'm like, okay, I'm not doing the Ravens defense because they're playing Cleveland and, like, I don't know, weird stuff can happen there. That is exactly what ended up happening. But I'm like, well, the Jets defense is actually good and the Patriots offense is, like, historically really, really bad. They are not good at all. I guess they did concuss Drake May. I don't think you get any fantasy points for that, but, you know, that is still worth putting on the board, I guess. They lose that game. It's crazy, I guess, that we thought that Aaron Rodgers coming. I say we. I don't really know that it was me. But national pundits would have had you believing that 30-something-year-old Aaron Rodgers coming off a ruptured Achilles was actually going to make some noise. And then they make the Devontae Adams trade, and you're like, cool. Like, that's cool. Probably should have maybe done this a while ago. Not that he maybe would have been available a while ago, but you're like, okay. But the point remains that the Honolulu flu is a real thing because the Vikings lost against the Rams. Whoops. Now, Vikings fans are going to tell me, you're going to show up in droves, you're going to tell me that the refs missed a face mask. Yes, they did. There is literally no way that I can dispute that. You guys got screwed. You guys got hosed. That's the only way to put it, right? If I was an asshole, which I am not, what I would say is that good teams don't put themselves in a position to where you have to bitch about a call that the refs made at the end of the game. Where the reason that I'm saying that is because that's just like what happened for the Lions for like a decade. Their Matthew Stafford era was just that. Like us bitching about shit. And I'm kidding. I'm not, the Vikings are definitely still good. But the Lions have been at the mercy of the refs for the officials for a while. Namely the Aaron Rodgers fake face mask. What's worse? A no-call face mask or a fake face mask that ends up leading to an Aaron Rodgers game-winning Hail Mary in Ford Field on, I think it was a Monday night. Which one's worse? Which one would you rather have? Because it has to be one of them. And shout out to Matthew Stafford. If he knows how to do anything, it's beat the Vikings. That's the one thing he knows how to do. The Packers today, because that game was happening simultaneously with the Lions game, I wasn't even able to watch it on Red Zone. If like they went to the studio and they're like, Kurt Menefee, like here's a game break, then I would know what was going on. So Jordan Love hurt his groin. I saw Josh Jacobs got hurt too. I saw Jair Alexander got hurt too. I don't know the status on anybody except that Packers fans are kind of like, oh no, about Jordan Love. So it must have been, but the Packers are also historically super tight-lipped about giving any updates on guys. So we probably may not even know anything. We may not even know anything until like Friday. Oh, man, if we get to play Malik Willis, I don't want to have to eat my words on this one because for some reason, somehow, Malik Willis actually has won games for the Packers this year. Case in point, today, it happened again that Malik Willis actually is fine. He's pretty much fine as the quarterback for the Packers. Definitely like a stabilizing force for them. Additionally, what did we see? Kansas City did it again. Or like every game, you're just like, they're not that good. They're not that good. They're just not Kansas City right now. They're just not. But they're undefeated. What is that now? 7-0 from the Kansas City Chiefs. Not damn. I'm excited. I love it. Super happy. Travis Kelce found the end zone today. Love it. No notes. I wish that the Raiders would just suck a little bit harder so that Mark Davis would actually want to trade Max Crosby because I think he just needs to get over it. I don't know. If we talk about Patrick Mahomes and how his numbers are kind of weird and how... But it's also like, I don't know, man. This guy's done the 50 touchdowns in a season thing before. He's done like the gaudy MVP numbers. And now I think he just did an interview recently where he talked about this. Like now he's just at a place in his career where there's so much game experience where he's able to identify every single week, what are the things that I need to do to win this week? And he just makes those plays. He's made it for 8 straight weeks now to start the season. So Chiefs undefeated. The Ravens losing a weird game in Cleveland. Do I got anything on that? Shout out to Jameis Winston. That's what I have on that. Jameis Winston rules. Love when he comes out, gets to start a game for the first time in just over 2 years. After the game, he quotes Eminem. Yeah, cool. Shout out to Jameis Winston. So while we move on here, let me do a quick little exposition. The participation in the email this weekend, was unprecedented. It wasn't just a volume thing, which was part of it, but it was a quality thing. I was really impressed at how good your emails were. And copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. There are so many of them that I want to try to get to all of them. And so the only way that we're going to be able to do that is if we kind of just rapid fire them. So without further ado, let's start with this one from Cooper. Sometimes I'll say something in passing, or I'll actually give you guys a prompt like, hey, give me your perspective on this thing. And then in the following episode, I'll read like 1 or 2 emails on that thing if I think that the response is, if it's quality. And this one from Cooper, why don't I just read it? Subject line, how do Wizards fans feel about having Russell Westbrook for 1 year? Response, because that's something we talked about in the last episode. Hey, Nick, longtime listener / viewer / commenter, second-time emailer. My first one was while you were on paternity leave, so it doesn't truly count. You're right, that does not count, because there was like no way I was going to be able to read it. So, Cooper, welcome to the show for the first time. As a Wizards fan, I personally loved that one Russell Westbrook season. I would compare it to that 1 year where Blake Griffin absolutely put the Pistons on his back. Once the John Wall era fell apart due to his injuries, the Wizards had 2 brutal seasons where they didn't even sniff the playoffs. When the Wall/Russ swap happened, I was crushed because John Wall is literally the reason I accidentally became a fan of this terrible team. But with Wall missing the last year and a half of his time with the Wizards and Beal averaging 30 in 2019-2020, I had hope that adding a literal MVP to the team would revive things. That is not how it went for the first half of the year. The Wizards sat at 17-32 in a 72-game season. It looked like it was over. But in the final 22 games of his season, Russell Westbrook had what was probably the last stretch of incredible MVP-level basketball of his career. He averaged 22.5 points, 14.2 assists, and 13.5 rebounds. Parenthetically, this was not talked about enough. The Wizards finished 34-38, and on the final game of the regular season, clinched the 8th seed. He was unreal. I was completely radicalized into the Russell Westbrook cult by the end of the season. Yes, they lost in the first round of the Sixers, but that roster never stood a chance in a 7-game series versus a 1 seed. To give credit where it's due, obviously this was Beal's career season and he was incredible in this stretch himself, and the midseason addition of Daniel Gafford was absolutely crucial in this turnaround as he made the team's defense do a complete 180. But Russ shifting his game up 100 gears is really what did it. He finished the season averaging 22.2 points, 11.5 rebounds, and 11.7 assists. It is the only season in the history of basketball where a guy averaged more than 11 assists and rebounds. Wow, can I read that again? Do you guys mind if I read that part again? Because that's crazy. It is the only season in the history of basketball where a guy averaged more than 11 assists and 11 rebounds. Back to the email, I honestly believe DC could have been his home after OKC, but obviously he had his heart set on going home to Los Angeles, and I don't hate him for that. The Wizards weren't entitled to any more than that 1 year from Russ given the state of the organization. As it stands now, we've made the playoffs once in the last 6 seasons, and we're looking at least 2 more non-playoff years. The one outlier playoff season came as a result of a Hall of Fame player who never had any business being on our miserable team to begin with, and having one of the most dominant stretches of his career, and I will forever be grateful for that. The fact that us perpetually tortured Wizards fans got to watch a player like that give everything he had to our awful team was incredible. We deserved it as fans, even if the team itself didn't deserve his final stretch of true greatness. In the greater scope of Russ's career, I think he is too disrespected. Ultimately, I would have to agree that his style of play was never meant to be a top option on a championship team in this era. But what his style of play was good for was carrying an otherwise awful team like the 16-17 Thunder or the 2021 Wizards to the playoffs. And I think there's beauty in that. There's also a lot of beauty in this email, Cooper. Honestly, that's it. That's the end of the email. And I don't honestly have that much to say about it. I just love when you guys, again, give a perspective on something that is beautifully nuanced in that way. And I think what you said at the end there is an interesting point that I guess maybe I would have wished I brought up, because this is a good point. What his style of play was good for was carrying an otherwise awful team. Is that it? Is that the take? That the reason that it's fun is because he's able to be that Cinderella guy on a team that may otherwise not have much business being anywhere near the playoffs, but because he can put up these ridiculous numbers and impact a game in the way that he does, that's sort of what you root for. You're rooting for the box score and you're rooting for the standings, even if you, because it's funny, what we said about the 16-17 Thunder team was that, yeah, he averaged a triple-double, and like, yeah, you had to give him the MVP that season, but as soon as they got to the playoffs, it was like, that's a wrap. You can just end the season now, like, have fun getting your MVP, like, at home. Although I guess back then they still did like the MVP, or I'm sorry, the MVP, but the NBA awards like as an award show, and like Drake would host it and shit like that. I think there was one year that Joel McHale did it. Might be thinking of the ESPYs. And then you have the Wizards team that you're talking about, and then they get smacked around by the Sixers, which there's no shame in doing that, honestly. Good teams lose to this. You guys weren't a good team, but you guys had good players. Lose to the Sixers all the time. The Daniel Gafford trade, he would have come from what? Maybe Chicago? Was Satoransky in that deal? Am I making that up? It's going to take me too long to look that up, but that's Tomas Satoransky being in that deal would make sense. I just don't know if I don't know if that's true. Shout out to Daniel Gafford. When he was in Chicago, I wanted him really bad. When he was in Washington, I wanted him really bad. Now he's in Dallas. He's like really polarizing player. Either people really don't like him and they don't think he's valuable, or you're a genius with a brain and you have a lot of wrinkles on your brain and you're like, Daniel Gafford, like, how about this guy? So once again, Cooper, thank you very much for that one, brother. This next one comes into us from Jacqueline. Jacqueline, welcome back to the show, I think. Welcome back. You've emailed before, but maybe just welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show. We'll just say welcome back to the show. Subject line, r/Detroit Pistons is a hellscape of negativity. Howdy there, Nick. I've been a Pistons fan since the SVG era and have been going on r/Detroit Pistons somewhat regularly the past few years. Honestly, I haven't a clue why I keep going on there, especially during live game threads. Just to break the email. Holy shit, dude. They're so bad. That's all I wanted to say. Back to the email. During the Pacers game on Wednesday, the vibes were just absolutely rancid. Every time the ball didn't go into the bucket when we shot it, someone had to complain about how we could have done better. Every time the Pacers scored, someone complained about how we could have put in more effort to stop that bucket. In the final moments, when Indiana clinched that game, I saw people insinuating that the season is cooked, and one person saying we'd be lucky to win 20 games. What the absolute fuck? We are playing our very first game of the season against a team that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals a year prior. We were ahead most of the game and came up 6 points short against a team who is far more experienced and cohesive than us. I'm very happy about how we did, and the endless negativity I saw throughout the game from fellow fans just became grating. What are your thoughts on the subreddit? I see you post in there from time to time and was curious if you share similar sentiments or if you think there's validity to the collective vitriol that goes on in there. I understand this franchise hasn't given us anything worth celebrating in a long time, and that we're promised change year after year and it never happens. But I honestly feel like this could be the year that it happens, and there's no evidence to back it up. We can't all just be doomers forever. Jacqueline, thank you very much for this email. I don't want to comment too much on the subreddit specifically. Just because, I mean, you're right, but it's not that I don't think it's specific to the subreddit. I think that's just Reddit. And if you want to zoom out even more, it's just the internet. You know what I mean? But like find a positive subreddit is what I would challenge you to do. Not in like an attack way, but you know what I mean? Like that's just sort of the nature of it. We talk all the time about how, even little mediums like that are just rage machines, and it's where people go and they're just such a hive mind. Because you're right about your perspective on all of this. I was looking at the live thread during the Celtics game. I checked in one time. And it was early in the game. We were down by like 15, and people were saying that this team is never going to win anything. And oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing that we gave Tobias Harris $30 million and that we need to just blow it up because this isn't going to work. And then if in 30 minutes of real time, the Pistons are down by like 7, and then 15 minutes after that, we're up by like 5. You know what I mean? And so it's like, you guys are fucking so reactionary and just so annoying. But that's everything. Because there was also a dude in the Bill Simmons subreddit who the Nuggets in the second quarter of their second game of the season were down by like 7 to the Clippers. And he was like, oh, Michael Malone, like hot seat. Does he make it till Christmas? They look bad and they're going to need a scapegoat. And then again, like 30 minutes later of real time, the Nuggets were winning that game. And so it's like halftime and they're like winning the game. You're like, okay, so what now? So like, what do we say about this now? I don't know. There are dudes in there who take it really seriously, who like take it super duper seriously, and those are the ones that I always just try to avoid because I also just have a weird relationship with the subreddit because when the Bonnie Cardigan show was on the air, not a lot of them liked me very much, and I just can't help myself, and I would always, anytime someone would post like, what's the best Pistons podcast, I always loved reading the comments because I was like, I know that people are going to say the Bonnie Cardigan show, and I just needed that because I was not confident in what we were doing. Even if I believed that the show was good, it was just really important to me to have that external validation. But then what came with that is people being like, the Bonnie Cardigan show would be great if Nick wasn't on it. You know what I mean? So like that was always really hard for me. And then the show ended, and now people don't like James more than they do like, they just like say more stuff, mean shit about James, and then they like are a little bit nicer about me, or they just don't even bring me up at all. So I don't really know where I stand with them. I'm not saying that in a selfish way, but so I usually just try to stay out of it. Yeah, I do comment in there from time to time. Usually at this point, if you see me commenting in the Pistons subreddit, I've probably had a few beers and I'm just kind of letting it fly at this point. But I don't make like actual posts in there anymore just because I'm scared of them. They just like really worry me. They put me on edge. A lot of them just are really high volume posters and take it really seriously, which there's no shame in that. Hey, we're all a little bit terminally online. I don't know. So can we unpack some issues that I have with the Pistons right now? Well, no, man, Jacqueline, actually, it's to your point, right? It's that like you can get all fucking mad that the Pistons are 0-3. You have real reason to do that, even if Cade is like looking amazing. Ivy's looked pretty good in the last game and a half. Like he hasn't looked that bad. He's still getting to the line. So like, okay, good for him and good for Cade. I don't have that many notes there. They're 0-3. Dog, their first 6 games of the season. Indiana, Cleveland, Boston, Miami, Philly, New York. What the hell? There's a real chance that we start 0-6. The odds are that we are going to start 0-6. It's like you strip this team of its context and the schedule that we're facing because you spent an off season inside of an echo chamber where everybody was doing like a little circle jerk talking about how fucking awesome this team was going to be because on paper, like we looked really good. But then when you throw those guys out onto the court which by the way, it's like not even that we're getting like destroyed in these games. You know how crazy it is to match the Pacers bucket for bucket for like 45 minutes? You know how crazy that is? That's wild. They had the 6th highest scoring offense in basketball a year ago, like ever, and not just in basketball, ever in basketball, ever 6th highest scoring offense ever. And we were like actually able to keep up with them. And then we go to Cleveland, and again, it's like mostly bucket for bucket, and like sure you slip away and like whatever, just an inexperienced team versus a team that like has continuity and has been together for a while. Sneaky, I thought that the Cavs game would be the one that we kind of like maybe steal, because I was like, okay, JB Bickerstaff homecoming game early in the season. We had success when Dwayne Casey went back to Toronto. We ended up winning that game at the buzzer. It was really, really cool. And I was like, honestly, JB Bickerstaff knows the Cavs team better than Kenny Atkinson does. So, like, what's the advantage of that? And it turns out there wasn't much of one. And then the Boston game, you're down by 15, and then you're, again, leading near the end of it. This is a Boston team where, like, first of all, defending champions of the NBA. I don't know if you guys saw that or heard about that. But, like, we're actually competing with them. These are 3 teams. 2 of them were playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. 1 of them won a championship, and all 3 of them were in the playoffs, and we were able to compete with all 3 of them, right? So it's there. Like structurally and conceptually, this team actually makes some sense. So what if we zoom out and we look at the first 10 games of the season for Detroit? Indiana, Cleveland, Boston, Miami, Philly, New York, Brooklyn, the Lakers, Charlotte, and Atlanta. Now, there are some potential wins in there. But if we lose that Brooklyn game, I'm telling you right now, if the Detroit Pistons lose to the Brooklyn Nets on the road on November 3rd, I will make January 6th look like a quinceañera. Don't let that shit fucking happen, because I will start to lose my mind if that happens. But otherwise, like, I don't know, the Lakers actually look like they might be good. As of this recording, they're 3-0. They've looked pretty good out the gate so far. There's a chance that we go to the in-season tournament and we're like, hey, keep an eye on these Lakers, and they win a fucking another one. The Charlotte Hornets, LaMelo's looked pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a gimme the way that it would have been a year ago if we had this team. So that's going to be a tough one, but that is a very winnable game. The Atlanta Hawks, yeah, I don't know. We should be maybe fine. I don't know. That one's going to be annoying. Some annoying stuff is going to happen in that one. Trae Young nutmegged Miles Bridges the other night. Smoked the highlight. I don't think the bucket went in, but the nutmeg was cool. But like, chill on my guy. Chill on my guy, Miles Bridges, Trae Young. What did he ever do to you? He's not the one that, I was going to say, I fucked up the joke. It doesn't matter. But I don't know, man. And it's one thing for me to sit up here and say, like, wow, the Pistons schedule is really, really hard. It's like, yeah, the team isn't good, and they're coming off of a year where they were really, really bad, and like, we're still figuring out if they're actually good. But like, it is actually just hard. I read you the first 6 teams. Those were all playoff teams a year ago, and a lot of them made deep runs. So that's just, it's tough to be staring down the barrel of that. The other thing that I would add here is that the team believes in what they're doing. We didn't have that a year ago. You know, we keep likening what the Pistons are trying to do to like the Dan Campbell stuff. What was like the biggest piece of that? The players buying into the vision that the coach laid out. and that the general manager laid out, and being like, it's like a culture tone setting thing. And all of those guys are buying into it. Because, like, which is true, Pistons fans? Which one of these is true? That the team, oh, wow, we might win 30 games this year. Like, we're not going to be that good, but, like, we're going to be, like, pretty good this year. Or, like, we fucking suck and we need to blow up the team. Because, like, which one is it? Did you think we were going to win the first 30 in a row and then smoke the next 52? Is that what you thought was going to happen? It's just annoying. It seems disingenuous. It's very knee-jerky. It's very reactionary. We're 3 games into the season. Maybe the Pistons aren't going to be a very good team, but they're certainly going to be better than they were a season ago. copingoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. Let's see this one from William. Subject line, the fear of a single man. William, welcome to the show. Maybe welcome back. I'm just going to keep saying welcome because sometimes it's getting hard for me to track it. Hey, Nick, hope all is well with you. Watching the first game of the World Series right now. This is the first time I've watched baseball since 2016. When I was younger, I was a much bigger Yankees fan, but once I got out of basketball, I never really kept up. This is my first time seeing Shohei play baseball, and I've never been more terrified of a singular player in my life. He looks so serene and at peace with life every time he's at bat. This 6'4" is giving off so much goddamn fright, and he looks like the biggest fucking goober alive. Chill on my guy, Shohei Ohtani, by the way. He's not a goober. He's a king. Who are some players in baseball that made you terrified that they can ruin your day with a single, it doesn't just have to be in baseball, with a single throw, swing, or shot? Last time I felt this fear was RG3 in the 2010s. He had such a perfect smile that it'd swoon anyone, and he'd either run for a 40-yard touchdown or throw a dart. There's so much like RG3 nostalgia that happens in the email. It's a really interesting phenomenon. And it's not even like Redskins/Commanders fans. It's just like people like, I don't think you'd be one of those. But you know what I mean? It's a lot of people like romanticize the RG3 era. The pink sleeve was really cool. I liked him more at Baylor than I did in the NFL. But shout out to Robert Griffin III, recently laid off by ESPN a couple months back. Let's do baseball since it's the World Series. Why don't I just stick to baseball with like players who, when they came up to bat, I was like, fuck. David Ortiz is maybe number one on this. It's not even just because of the grand slam that he hit it against us, and I think the ALCS is what that would have been. A year, by the way, that Boston was literally never going to lose the World Series. It was never going to happen. There was no timeline. That alternate universe skewed off where the Tigers won that World Series that year, because it wasn't that the same year that the Boston Marathon happened and Big Papi comes out and he's like, this is our fucking city. And it was like, that's a wrap on the season. It's deuces to everybody else's chances of winning a World Series. Definitely David Ortiz is up there. Sneaky, like, there's a lot of White Sox on there. Paul Konerko, Jim Thome, I think was what it was. He was on there. Can I give you a Cleveland Indian, Grady Sizemore? He was another one that was on there. How about Frank Thomas? Frank Thomas was good for like just a really loud single or a 440-foot home run, like every other at bat. Didn't he play for, like, every team in the AL Central except Detroit? He played for the Sox. He played for Minnesota. Swear he played for Cleveland. I swear he did. Although I don't even want to fucking say that, because this is just going to turn into another. Yeah, CC Sabathia is my favorite Philadelphia Philly of all time. I'll take shit that literally never happened for 500, Alex. CC Sabathia he never played for the Philadelphia Phillies. That never happened. Pitching-wise, I was never scared of Rivera. Roy Halladay was the one. We talked about him when we did the whole Phillies thing. I mean, honestly, CC Sabathia would be on there. Houston Street scared me a lot. I hated that guy. Albert Pujols. That's the one that I could not. That guy made me lose sleep. I hated Albert Pujols because that guy was a real wagon. You know what I mean? Come on, Nick, you're doing good. You know, like an easy one, yeah, sure, Ken Griffey Jr., but like Ichiro. You talk about Frank Thomas being good for a really loud single. How about Ichiro smoking you for like the fastest triple that you've ever seen in your life? Also, the longevity that he had. Well, what's the thing about Ichiro, that the amount of hits, because he eclipsed 3,000 hits in Major League Baseball, right? And the amount of hits that he had before he came to the United States in whatever league he was playing in Japan, didn't he break Pete Rose's record? Did he have over 4,000 or like 5,000? Like Ichiro had a lot of hits. Come on, Nick, get one more. Get deep in your bag. Gary Sheffield, when he wasn't on the Tigers, loved him on the Tigers. Mark Teixeira, that's how you said his last name? Mark Teixeira. Prince Fielder, pre-Tigers, like Milwaukee Brewers, Prince Fielder. I mean, when he was with the Tigers, he was an absolute killer. Like having him, when the Tigers got Prince Fielder, and it was like the new murderer's row between him and Miguel Cabrera, and then who else was on there? It was like V-Mart, you had Victor Martinez, you had Johnny Peralta. Like, dog, what a wagon the Tigers were in the early to mid 2010s. Like, so nasty. I think I've covered all the bases here on this one. No pun intended. What's another one that I want to do? Shout out to the guy who emailed me. He said he was drunk, and he just emailed me. He took his phone out and he recorded a midi that he hit, a little turnaround 10-footer that he hit with Devin Vassell in 2K. Shout out to that guy. Come on, Nick. There's a couple more in here that you wanted to do. Well, let's stick to baseball on this one. This one comes into us from Josiah. Subject line, MLB salary cap. Am I just bitter? Hi, Nick. How do I sound like a normal, logical sports fan when I talk to my friends about the MLB and why I think it is the hardest professional sport to watch? Not because of the actual game itself, but the fact that every team is not on a level playing field financially. Whenever I talk to my friends about this, they act like I'm the crazy one for wanting the MLB to run on a financial standard that the NFL and that the NBA greatly benefit from. As we embark on the most financially profitable World Series of our lifetime, parenthetically, I'm 28, close parentheses, it's sad to watch this classic without thinking about how we got here in an unfair way. On another side note, I will never be able to watch a regular season baseball game unless they shorten the season. Whoa. You included a remix, Charlie XCX remix. Is this from Brat? What is this? I'm pulling this up in real time. What is this from? Charlie XCX 360, but the instrumental is Fleetwood Mac. Okay, that's fun. I'll listen to that when this is done. That's fun. Thank you for that. And then you sent me a Matty Healy interview. Is this the one that just came out? It's like 2.5 hours long. Yeah, it's literally, that is exactly what it is. Dog, this has been on my radar for like a week. It's been out for 5 days, but thank you for sending me this. I have been like waiting to jump into this. It's crazy. I spent an hour watching the Donald Trump, Joe Rogan podcast. I could have just been listening to Matty Healy, our king, Josiah. Looks like you're in that boat with me. Really excited to listen to it. Anyways, MLB's salary capless league. Well, didn't they do something to like smooth that over or to fix that? I have no idea. Robert Manfred, not really on the docket for him. Not something that he's interested in solving. Josiah, you're going to hate this. You're going to hate this, brother. Don't care. Because if no salary cap means that I get to see Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto and Clayton Kershaw and Tyler Glasnow, if I could see all those guys on the same team, listen, we can hate the Yankees, but it's pretty cool that they have like Gleyber Torres and Giancarlo Stanton, even if he's like, meh, and Aaron Judge. Even if he's like fucking washed, apparently. He's like, he started the season on training wheels and then he like got on a hot rod. He got on a real chopper for like 5 months and then he hits 50 home runs. It's like, oh, there's Aaron Judge. And then he gets into the postseason and he stinks and he's like chasing sliders that are 6 miles off of the plate. You're like, what the fuck is going on with Aaron Judge? They have him and they have Juan Soto and they have Garrett Cole. And like, it's cool. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just, I want star power, you know? And I think that it's not going to help baseball if you're a fan who believes what you believe here, brother. Well, what's not going to help is when both of those teams actually make the World Series and it works. No, that's not true. Hold on. The gears are spinning. Some WD-40 has just been sprayed onto my brain. I can feel a new wrinkle forming where it was once smooth. I now feel a ripple. Does baseball look at this and say, okay, so the reason that these two teams got to the World Series is because they capital P, bolded, italicized, underlined, paid their way. You know, a lot of these teams, they pave their own way to the World Series, but in the Yankees and Dodgers case, they paid very literally their way to the World Series this year. And they've been largely successful doing it. It's been rocky I was going to say it's been a little shaky for the Yankees, but shaky for the Yankees? Is that an unintentional rhyme that I do from time to time, Dr. Seuss in this news? I don't think I can get away with that one. And then the Dodgers thing, well, yeah, even against the Padres, like they were kind of like, what is happening? Like, what is going on here? So, yeah, okay. No, I don't know. They both kind of had their moments. Where am I settling on this? I don't care about it. Maybe it's not good behavior, but I don't care about it. You know, shout out to Detective Crashmore. Because if basketball didn't have a salary cap, I would have like season tickets. Because every single game would just fucking rule. It's fun. I don't know. It's like when you turn on 2K and you're like, no salary cap. Or when when you're starting a new season and there's like rule changes and they've now made it so that you can like make your own rule changes. And I always turn off, not always, but sometimes I'll just turn the salary cap off because I'm like, I don't know, this isn't real. It does kind of make the game less fun after a while because the pool of players is so much smaller. And so it's just so easy to stack your team. And then the challenge of it, actually does kind of leave and it's not that fun anymore. I don't know. The Dodgers in the World Series so far have looked awesome. And the guys that they pay the most money have showed up pretty big, except sneaky Shohei. He showed up to the emergency room with a dislocated shoulder. But the $700 million that he signed for, which actually he's not even going to see that money for, 10 years? Because he deferred $680 million of it. Because he's like, no, I don't want this now where I'm going to have to pay taxes. I'm Shohei Ohtani. You think I'm going to pay fucking taxes? That's so much less money that I can gamble with. Like, what is Ippei Mizuhara doing right now? Where is he? Like, I have not seen any updates on this, and I've kept my ears semi-close to the ground. Nothing has come across my desk about Ippei Mizuhara. Is he in jail? Has he been, indicted? I know he was served some, paperwork or something, and, they kind of got the ball rolling on it initially. Was that just to save face and to kind of, paint this picture that, we're taking this seriously? We are the United States Justice Department. We are conducting a federal investigation. We are Major League Baseball, and we care about this gambling thing. We don't want it to go away. Hey, we don't need it to go away. Our most profitable star and the biggest brand name that we've had in baseball in, 30 damn years, if not longer. No, it's fine. This can stay around. But he didn't do it, though. But Shohei Ohtani, he did not do this. He did not gamble. He is not a gambler. He has never gambled a day in his life. That's what he says. That's what he maintains. And we don't want this to go away at all. copingoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. This one comes into us from Sebastian. New NBA Finals Rivalry is the subject line. Hey, Nick. Two teams that have looked outright amazing besides the Thunder are the two finals teams in Dallas and Boston. Now you might be thinking, well, duh, the finals teams are good, big whoop. Well, my prophecy for this year is actually kind of a whoop. We have a hashtag, we're on whoop watch. This is me, I'm breaking the email. Sebastian, we're putting you on whoop watch. Let's see if there's a whoop here. Back to the email. I think that this Celtics team this year are going to be the 2016 Warriors, and the Mavs are going to be the 2016 Cavs. This Celtics team makes the regular season look so easy to the point where I think that they can get close or even break the record. This Mavs team looks built for the playoffs. They are probably one of the most physical teams, coupled with having some of the hottest hands in the league. I am praying for a Celtics versus Mavs 7-game finals this year, and for Luka to finally get to fill the LeBron void and win his first championship. I don't know. This is just This is just some first game's overreaction. But would be cool if this happened. Have a good day, Sebastian. Sebastian, I'll give you a half whoop there. Not because, I don't know if we can really, we certainly can't concretely say anything about this, but it's certainly possible. It is certainly within the realm of possibility that, oh, wait, these two teams, you know what I mean? These two teams are good. You get here's a beginning of the season cliche that we haven't thrown out this, we haven't thrown this out there for anybody in the NBA yet. The Dallas Mavericks had the entire offseason with Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, you know what I mean? And the value that brings. Because it's one thing to trade for guys in the middle of the season, and then they kind of got to figure everything out on the fly. Even in the finals, are we sure? Building that chemistry, building that continuity within an offense, within a defense when you're two new faces, that's a lot. That's not nothing. By the way, Klay Thompson is also on the team, has looked pretty decent to start the season. So I don't hate it. I mean, we're talking about a Celtics team that, if you want my knee-jerk reaction, wait a minute, huh? To the start of the season, have we overlooked Jason Tatum for the MVP? Because I'm not saying that yet, but I'm saying a quarter of the way through the season, when we get to the middle of December, maybe the beginning of January, people are going to have him on their boards. If he keeps up this pace, I don't know how we wouldn't. I say keep up this pace. Yeah, sure, dog. It's been 3 or 4 games. He's not missing threes. He's not. He looks a little bit bigger, he took some reverse Ozempic for muscles. He's looking a little bit bigger. He's looking a little bit more quick twitched, and he's taking over games. And he's playing really transformative basketball with the Celtics, and they're just awesome. They're just awesome. They shoot a million threes. They get a million wide open looks because of other shit that guys without the ball are doing. And, like, they're awesome. Dallas, I don't want to lie to you. I have not watched Dallas yet this year. So I have literally no idea. But I do know that, again, they have the aforementioned three guys. They have Kyrie Irving and they have Luka Doncic. So I don't think we need to assign, like, okay, the Celtics are the Warriors and then the Cavs are the Mavs are the Cavs. I don't think we need to do that just because then we could get nitpicky and be like, well, why are the Celtics the what? You know what I mean? We don't need to do that. Because the thing that the Celtics have, well, no, dog, shut up. That's not true. I was going to say the thing that the Celtics have over the Warriors is that all of their dudes are homegrown, and Golden State didn't have that. Yes, the fuck they did. The one guy that that the Warriors didn't have that wasn't homegrown was Kevin Durant. All of the other guys, it was like those were their dudes, you know? So who's that for the Celtics? Well, in year one with the team, it would be KP. It'd be Porzingis because he got there and they won a championship. And I don't even like that I'm doing this because then it's like it sounds like I'm comparing Kristaps Porzingis to Kevin Durant. He fucking might as well have been last year. Kristaps Porzingis was awesome. His ass is wearing like a Men's Warehouse suit on the bench during banner night. I don't know. Put on like a cool t-shirt. Like a real Bostonian. You know what I mean? Putting on a suit to sit on the bench. What are you, fucking Flip Saunders? Like, what are you? Like, huh? I do like it, though. In theory, that if it has to be two teams, I mean, I would rather be like, this is so blasphemous. Me from 5 years ago listening to me say this now, oh my God, I'd fucking throw up. I'd rather it be like the Knicks and the Mavs. But I was going to call them more likable. That's not even true. Is it because you have more fun watching them, Nick? Is that what it is? You have more fun watching the Knicks over the Celtics? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Is it just the Boston shit in my head? Is that all that it is? It doesn't have to be that. If it needs to be Boston and Dallas in order for this to happen, sure, let's break recent history. Let's break the trend. Fuck it. We don't need unique champions anymore. We've been doing that for like 6 years. That's old shit. That's tired. We're done with that. Like, we want dynasties. Well, not just dynasties, but real rivalries, real concrete rivalries that we can look at and be like, oh, when these two teams match up, you gotta lock in. You have to dial in. You know what I mean? I like it. Hey, one more email before we do something else. We have something about, oh, fuck, no, I wanted to read this one too. We got to do it because it was a good email. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically, email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. Subject line, a teal male from Mexico City. Don't know what that means. From David. David, welcome to the show. Hi, Nick. Been a long-time listener of the Coping Hour. I love your sports takes, but I love your soul more. Oh, thank you very much, brother. I will do this in bullet points for an easier understanding and flow. Number 1, fatherhood mantra. I'm also a new father to my baby girl. I'm just leaving the name out just out of respect for you. She's going on 1 year old in December. I think that you're a great father, most importantly, a great team with your partner. I know that parenting is a trip all the time, but I learned a mantra that I think reflects the kindness that a parent needs. Quote, parents do what they can with the tools that they have, unquote. No parent seeks to do wrong with their child, but rather parenthood is an intense journey of not only parenting your child, but also releasing past injuries by doing things differently. I think that you've put your soul into your son, and he is going to love you forever doing that. That looks simple, but most parents don't do it. Oh, man. Yeah, I won't comment on that. You just nailed that. That meant a lot to me, brother. And breaking those cycles and whatever trauma you have and not passing that down. Yeah, something that we are both very conscious of. And it sounds like you are too. Number 2, I'm a Coastal Carolina football fan. I'm very curious about what you think what do I think about Grayson McCall's retirement? He's my favorite college football player of all time, and I really think that he was going to thrive in the NFL as an underdog. That is a very interesting decision that Grayson wants to have a life after football while Tua Tagovailoa wants his brain to look like a cloud. That's a fucked up thing to say, David. But you're right. Yeah, so I don't know. That's the truth. I don't know. I do know that he retired because he was like, I got another concussion and I don't want to do that anymore. Didn't he get carted off the field? Is that the same guy that got carted off the field? I don't know. But yeah, man, I think more people should probably I think it's good. I think that means that people are very acutely aware of the long-term effects of the game that they are playing. And for a guy like him, if he didn't feel like there was a legitimate path to the NFL beyond just being a practice squad guy, which there's absolutely no shame in being that because you still make pretty good money as a practice squad guy. It's the right thing to do for him in that moment, it sounds like. Number 3, as a Mexican, in our country, we currently believe that the Dodgers, shocker. Well, it would be the same thing if the Raiders were good. You'd be like, I think the Raiders are going to be. Anyway. Let me just take that one back from the top. As a Mexican, in our country, we currently believe that the Dodgers are going to win the World Series with the soul and energy off of Fernando Valenzuela, rest in peace, the only player to ever win the Cy Young and Rookie of the Year in the same season. What do you think of spiritual forces, and their influences on sports? Well, we kind of did that already, right, David? We kind of talked about the Boston Marathon and how that, like, the Sox were always going to win the World Series that year. Does that count? That has to count, right? 2 Chechnya guys show up in Boston and, like, set off some pressure cooker bombs and kill some people, and blow off some legs, blow people's arms, and turn their brains into clouds, as you put it. And the Red Sox were like, not on our watch. We're going to win a World Series. Who's another one? Oh, this is such a good one. There's so many. Please throw some out there in the comments. Some spiritual influences, or rather some, how did you put it? Some spiritual forces and their influences on sports. The Fernando one's good. They already have the patches on there. They put his number on the field. That one, like, really has shaken the baseball community in a way that, I don't want to say people didn't give a shit that Pete Rose died. They were just like, oh, fuck, that's funny. Pete Rose is dead. I was like, what? Is this a heritage thing? Is this just like you're Mexican and you guys like view things in a more like spiritual way? And we're just like, no, I'm literally grasping at straws. I'm not even fucking saying anything here. Pete Rose dies and he's like not even the champion of white people. He's just not. But he did have a lot of hits, and because he gambled, we're supposed to be like, when OJ died, that was a big deal. For better or for worse, some people were not so happy about that. When Bill Cosby dies, I can tell you right now who's going to say something nice about it and who's not going to say something nice about it. When R. Kelly? No, Bill Cosby's the right example there. Who's a white person? Tom Hanks. When Tom Hanks dies, people will be like, fuck. I don't even like that I manifested that. He's got 15 years left. He's got 20 years left. Tom Hanks, you're going to live to 1,000. You're going to outlive me. All right? Really just gone off the road with this one, brother. Sorry about that. Number 4, I hope you still listen to the show after this. I'm sorry. The thing that I miss the most about the Bun and Cardigan show is that you talk about music. What are your favorite records this year? And then you actually included a bunch of yours. I appreciate this. P.S. Bears are going to win the division. Jayden Ivey is amazing. It hurts my soul that you don't love him. Sorry if my English isn't perfect. No, you nailed this, brother. And then you wrote in all caps, que chinguen a su padre los Packers, which I believe translates to fuck the Packers and their mothers. I think that's what that means. I can read Spanish better than I can speak it. I think that's loosely what that means. Should I put that into Google Translate in real time and see what that means? Spanish to English. Copy, paste. Google says, fuck your mother, the Packers. So that's basically what I said. What are my favorite records this year? I have such a disappointing answer for you. The whole fatherhood thing has really thrown off my releases thing. Movies are the same way. Like, I just have been like, what's coming out? Like, oh, yeah, Nosferatu's coming out. I really want to see The Apprentice. I really want to see that. Otherwise, like, Maxine sucked. I hated it. I went to the theater and felt like I wasted my time. I was so bummed about that. Civil War, went and saw Civil War, but we didn't even have our kid yet when we saw Civil War. Bawled my eyes out. I was like, that movie was literally, every single frame was perfect. This is not what you asked, so let me get back to the point. I just haven't been able to keep on top of it the way that I had, like on the Bun and Cardigan show, when I would keep a running tally, and every weekend I would listen to like 3 new albums that just came out. And then at the end of the year, I'd be like, here are my top 10. I haven't been able to even come close to doing that this year. I listened to the Tommy Richmond album like 2 or 3 weeks late. And I was kind of like, yep, that's exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's not a bad thing. I just was like, yep, that's exactly what I thought it was going to be. He's sort of carved out a very specific niche, and I think he knows his lane, and he stays in it. And he's done a really good, like a classically trained opera singer. Like, yeah, okay. I listened to that. It was late. Brat. Loved that. Listened to Sabrina Carpenter's album. It was short and sweet. Listened to that like the day that it came out. Other than that, I mean, the 21 Pilots album I liked. There's a band called Half Alive. I think it's just like an EP that's coming out. It's not a full length. So that's got to be coming out soon. I'm excited for that. The Japanese House released one single. Listen to that. It's definitely going to be in my Spotify Wrapped. Everything that she comes out with, I'm just like, literally nobody makes music like this, and I would fall on a grenade. That's kind of it, man. I'm sorry. I just haven't really been able to get in the weeds with it. So, David, thank you very, very much for that, dude. Hopefully I didn't steer you away from listening to the show. I'm scrolling past so many of these emails that I flagged as like a, hey, read this. And folks, I'm not going to be able to get to them. I'm really sorry. I'm hoping that you guys sent in so many good emails this week, and I tried to get as many as I could. But the last thing I want to cover here is a bingo update. So if you listen to the last episode, the 2024 Motown Noah bingo sheet, it worked. We did it. We got a bingo on the board. It happened in the first year with about a month and a half left, about 2 months left to spare. We got a bingo on the board. And that doesn't mean that we're going to stop tracking stuff. But the thing that we have talked about ad nauseum at this point is one of the last things that we're kind of tracking on there is that Shohei Ohtani does something that no one has done since 1922. We wanted to get weird and specific with the year. And what we were tracking was him collecting 450 total bases in the postseason and the regular season. Hasn't been done since 1922, and he's been on track. Well, now he just got hurt, might miss a game. We'll see what happens with him in his injury, right? Dodgers are up 2-0. The Yankees are dead, by the way. I don't know if they know it yet. That Freddie Freeman grand slam was a bullet to the head. They may not know it yet. They're sort of in that post... it's like when they're having an out-of-body experience and they just don't know it yet. The Yankees are dead as fuck. But I got an alert here from Sam. They just announced on the pregame for game 1 of the World Series that Shohei Ohtani has the best stolen base percentage of any player who has stolen 50-plus bases since none other than 1922. And I'm not going to do my shouting and my screaming like I did when we got the bingo, because this is not a victory lap podcast, and we did not do a victory lap when we got the bingo. I was just naturally excited about that because holy fucking shit. But I'm not talking about it anymore, and this is not me talking about it now. We will go back over it at the end of the year to see how we did, and if any other things come up that we got right, we will bring it up. But we got this one right. Shohei Ohtani had the best success rate of any player in Major League Baseball who had stolen at least 50 bases in a single season since 1922. It goes on the board. How about that one, ladies and gentlemen? So, Sam, thank you for putting that on my radar. Don't know how we missed that one. We were tracking 450 bases for a damn month and a half at this point, like an idiot, like a smooth-brained idiot. But now we don't have to do that anymore. So, folks, if you are listening to this on Spotify, be sure to rate 5 stars, leave a review, subscribe. Nope, that's YouTube. You can't even leave reviews on Spotify. You can leave comments. You can do that. Will somebody tell me where you're doing them? I've asked this, I don't think I've explicitly asked this. Let me not get confrontational for no reason. Where do you leave them? Because when I pull up Spotify, there's nothing in my UI that's like, hey, you want to leave a comment on this thing? It doesn't happen. Where are you leaving them? Someone screen record and email it to me. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe. Nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. Please control the primary responsibly. Control the primary. That's that's not this upcoming election. The primary has already happened. I will catch you guys in the next one.